Good morning and a warm welcome to our webinar, Defining and Measuring Mobile Experience in Context. The purpose of today's webinar is to explore ways in which you are able to better understand mobile experiences within defined contexts and how to learn ways to observe and measure these activities. I have the pleasure to present to you my colleague Mark Kramer, who leads the Innovation and Future Department here at USECON. My name is Claudia Past and I'm responsible for sales and marketing, and today I will guide you through this webinar. Before we start, I want to share a little about USECON and how you can contact us. During this webinar, you will be able to share your comments and questions at any time through the question function of our webinar software. However, we will answer your questions after the webinar, and we will also be recording this webinar and will send you the link to the video in the near future. Today's webinar will take about 35 minutes, and I will start and give you a short introduction about USECON, about our approach and the focus of our daily work. And before we will answer your questions at the end of the webinar, we will sum up the most important facts as takeaways for you. Most listeners know us already, therefore my introduction will be rather quick. USECON is an international consulting firm headquartered here in Vienna with a new office in Cologne. And our aim here at USECON is to integrate users strongly into the processes if we are talking about new services, products, or interfaces. And based on the know-how of the users, we develop new interactions, shape and evaluate those, and try to collect their needs and expectations. In our daily work, we focus on 4 different areas. That's user research and insights, experience design and prototyping, strategy and change, and innovation and future. In our first field, user research and insights, we conduct different kinds of experience studies to get to know the needs of the users and to gain essential insights, for example, for product development or further project steps. The usability and user experience evaluation is also a very important part of this first field. Experience design and prototyping. Here in the design field, for us it's really important that we design with a positive experience and use different forms of experience prototypes when we develop design strategies for interfaces, products, or services. In the third field, strategy and change, for us that's management consulting for implementing experience management within a company. So that means we foster the change from a company-driven view to a customer-driven company, as well as training and coaching in the areas of usability, user experience, and user interface design. And in the field of innovation and future, where Mark is head of, we identify new interactions and interface solutions, and we develop methods and tools for researching different contexts and target groups. For us, it is important to integrate the users as soon as possible into our projects, and we unit this mostly with our 3 U's you can see in this slide. Usability, we understand that to create technology and communication as easy as possible for the users, but just if something is efficient and satisfying for the user. Unfortunately, that does not automatically mean that the user has an experience at all the different touch points with the company. But we think that it's really essential for a positive user experience we want to create, that the user has an overall experience, so that user experience fulfills factors like safety, trust, or fun, for example. And the third U stands for user interface design. So user interface design should kind of implement usability and user experience in a way that an overall experience is generated for the user. And in our work, we always take into account the user's context. So users have other needs and desires rather at home or in a mobile context. And within the next 30 minutes, my colleague Mark Kramer will now talk about how to define and measure mobile experience in context.
Yeah.
Please, Mark.
Good morning. I'm Mark. I want to thank you all for taking the time this morning to join us. Actually, in preparing for this webinar, it was quite a challenge because we have a series that we're exploring different topics of return on experience. And of course, working in innovation of future, mobile is really reshaping the way many people work, play, and interact. And so when I was asked to prepare for this webinar, Claudia asked me, okay, come up with a catchy title. And I thought defining and measuring mobile experience in context sounded sexy enough. But yet it's quite dense, and yet it's fun to explore. So what we're going to do is not go through everything, but I want to share with you some trends, research methods, and research that we're currently doing, as well as observations that I feel is worth mentioning. So defining and measuring mobile experience in context. The argument that we're making is basically, as you see in this slide, you see people, whether they're alone or interacting with others or alone together, they all have mobile devices or something wearable. And I have observed personally how in my commuting every day, these services and devices are really affecting and reshaping how people communicate, interact. And what's fascinating is that in the different contexts in which they are, I'm always thinking to myself, what are these people thinking? Why do they do what they do? And why is at this particular moment so important for them to be on this device? So in many ways, I think to really comprehend these changes, we need to find or discover ways, especially research methods, to help really define and measure these experiences in real-life situations and contexts. And that's what we're here to do. Before we go further, I wanted to share with you some definitions how I'm approaching mobile experience and context within this particular webinar. I mean, the term mobile, for me, is not just about mobile technology, but it's also a form of a degree of fluidity. The mobility of knowledge, the mobility of information, as well as people, is important. So as long as there's an extreme degree of fluidity, moving, flowing with great freedom, this is how we define mobile. And of course, mobile tech allows us a greater degree of freedom than before. Experience, a very simple definition of experience we share here, is that it's an event or something that someone is aware of. So you're cognizant of an event. And then, of course, having an experience in a specific context, the surroundings, circumstances, the environment in which you're in really help define and clarify the meaning of that experience or event. So these are just 3 simple definitions to help put into context this webinar. Now, actually I think I took these photos last week, but this could have been taken this morning. And I'm sure many of you can relate to these photographs if you travel to work in the morning. You see everyone with their head down, and you see either people are taking photographs, reading mail, playing games, or reading a digital book. The point is, people are constantly taking moments out of their lives to use mobile devices in different contexts. In this case, it's morning commute. But what are some of the trends that we see with mobile usage? Yeah, one of the a major trend that we observe here at USECON is wearable technology. People are augmenting or supplementing, say, maybe a smartphone with other devices. So someone could be wearing a smartwatch, or they have a glass device. Google, I don't know if you see many people around you wearing Google Glass, but it's making an impact. It's considered a wearable device, and it has its future. Other forms of wearable technologies, you've seen people wear activity trackers, maybe a Fitbit or a Nike Fuel Band or Jawbone Up. There's different types of activity trackers which come into the area of quantified self, which I will mention more about. Many people actually have, let's say, Nike Fuel combined with a sensor in their shoes to track their pace, and maybe there's a device they're carrying which has geolocation integrated into it. Anyhow, the technologies which are wearable are accumulating a lot of data about us, whether it's our geolocation, the time of day, and aspects such as this. Could be temperature. There's many things that can be measured. Another thing I wanted to point out, a trend that I see, is smart TV interaction. I would also like to mention that second screening is a major trend, but I think smart TV interaction is a trend that I see placing mobile experiences into the context of maybe a home, or could be a sports bar, could be any place where people are interacting with large screens. Currently, I'm actively watching the FIFA World Cup in Brazil, and there's a lot of public viewing areas. And what's fascinating for me is to see in these public spaces, people are watching games on the large screen, but yet they might have a tablet or a mobile phone out to check the scores or to maybe search information about a particular sport, a particular athlete. So, and I'm sure you've observed this as well. A lot of smart TV interaction is actually coming into many, say, point of sale environments. Stores are starting to use screens for in-store advertising, maybe restaurants as well. So this is a trend, I think, to look at: mobile, wearable tech and smart TV interaction. So those are two trends, but what are some of the tools and methods to help us sort of like capture data and understand these changes? Now, traditionally, and many of you are aware of, say, analytics software that captures certain metrics, and the dashboards help us visualize the data in a way that make it sensible to react and make decisions. Now, what's fascinating is that the more technology we carry with us and we use, more data we're capturing. And to be able to understand this data and visualize this, this is something that we're working on extensively at USECON, is to help. We're collecting this data, but how do you really understand and comprehend it? So for me, I think dashboards has a major impact to help people not only define mobile experiences, but actually understand it. One of the things, besides metrics, another way to really understand things in context is actually maybe eye tracking. We've been doing a lot of exciting work recently, including one research project that I will mention, using eye tracking, or mobile eye tracking specifically, within real life contexts. So imagine walking into a grocery store and actually understanding what people are drawn to, or what colors of the products, or what labels they're drawn to. This, for me, is a marketer's dream, to be able to get insights or to actually help see how shoppers are seeing. So in terms of like really defining mobile experiences context, eye tracking is one of the most powerful tools. And again, I will mention a research project we're working on that. This particular slide I found, I want to thank Christian Rohrer, if you are listening to this webinar. This is a wonderful matrix of research methods. It kind of captures the different methods which can be used to help understand and define mobile experiences in context. If you look at the x-axis, you have between qualitative and quantitative data, different approaches, whether you're observing technology uses in a natural way or within a lab. There's different ways to approach this. You'll be receiving these slides. I encourage you to go back, look at the different methods. If you need assistance in understanding this, we're definitely available. You can contact us and we can go further into look at these methods. But what for me is more important is to, let's say, look at what are some existing research and innovations which are occurring. As I mentioned earlier, we're part of a project called FAX. This is funded by FFK and Research Studios Austria, part of this. And we're trying to develop a toolbox for multi-sensory studies with wearable, especially mobile eye tracking. And this particular product, the results of this, or this project, the results of this will be research methods and tools to really help define and measure mobile experiences. And coupled with that, what I think is another very interesting research field and also very innovative is looking at emotion-aware computing. So it's one thing to maybe do eye tracking, but how are people reacting emotionally, whether it's to a marketing campaign or whether it's reacting to a game experience or whether it's reacting to a television show, could be anything. In this particular picture, these two individuals in the middle are playing a game, and that's obviously it seems like they're having fun, but we have the tools to actually identify and determine the emotions of individuals. And this is one way we can collect, whether you collect data, but collect more contextual information to understand an experience impact on humans. Last week, I find this quite exciting. Amazon launched what's called the Fire Phone. And the reason I highlight this particular innovation is because the Fire Phone is truly one of the first phones that actually has eye tracking built into it. So in theory, while you are using the phone, you can not only visualize the phone in a different way, it could see how you react, whether it's to a website, whether it's to a program or a game that you're playing. And this is without the need of any other hardware. Your eyes, as it moves, the screen of the phone also moves too. So you're basically doing eye tracking on a handheld mobile device in real time. And this is for me truly, truly exciting, because what this opens up is the ability from out of your pocket to kind of like capture not only emotion aware, there's a lot of things that can be tracked in real time as well. One of the things the Fire Phone enables, and in this picture you see, is you could scan or take a picture of a product and then automatically purchase it, and also get, let's say, contextual information such as how many calories in this particular candy. Why is this interesting? Why is this innovative? Because there's a lot of context taken at that particular moment. When someone takes a photo, we know the time, we know the location, we know what they're interested in. Maybe if they tap on the MyFitnessPal button on there, we might speculate that they're worried about their figure or health. But then you could aggregate all kinds of other data that is happening at the same time and get a much larger picture or broader picture of that experience. Another way for getting real-time information is what's called experiential sampling. It's real-time sentiment analysis. There is actually a startup started here in Vienna called Curiously. They actually offer quite an amazing solution. It's an alternative to mobile ads. I know many of you, when you download, let's say, a free app in the App Store, and you're confronted with mobile ads, this is not very attractive for many. But most people wouldn't mind maybe if you're asked questions, and these questions would be connected to a particular context. Say I walk into a cafe, and the person or the owner of that cafe could push a message to me and ask me information about my experience in real time and get feedback. That's how that works. A lot of the examples we've given so far are very visual based, but I think it's also important to note that sound or listening to things is something we do quite often throughout the day. And Shazam is one solution where Shazam is actually connecting oral or audio experiences with marketing campaigns. And I think you hear something, it activates it, and if you open the app and then start listening to it, that tags that moment and then connects that context, the time and location, with what you're listening. I think this is a very effective way to get more insights into mobile experiences. I think it's something that many marketing individuals are starting to use more and more. But to not, there's many things that we could talk about, but I think what are some important takeaways to kind of like understand defining mobile experiences in context is that in order to really design successful products, I think it's really important to understand how these mobile services and devices are used in context. And there are, as you've seen, there are new tools and methods which are available to gain insights into user behavior. And these insights can actually really help save you time and money in your design process. Knowledge is power, but also knowledge can help save money. Insights, I firmly believe this, which are captured within context, really have more value and actually justify a lot of design decisions. All too often, I'm sure you feel the same as I, you've used a service or use an application and you just wonder, who designed this? Did they actually talk to people? Did they include the end user in the decision process? What data did they use to base the decisions for this design? So, and this comes to another takeaway where I believe really service design and what we here at USECON also refer to as experience management is really heavily influenced by context factors. So, and this I can't emphasize more. And really working with an experienced consulting team such as us makes good business sense and saves you money. And really we have lots of projects we've worked on. We have an energetic team, and this is something we take to heart every day. So if there are any questions, please share them with me now. It's always a challenge to speak to individuals but not seeing your faces. This lack of context for me is very, very challenging. I have one question from one individual. Is what makes USECON different from other user research or user experience consultancies? Well, personally, I've only been with USECON for the past 3 months. One way to answer this is I personally came to USECON because especially in Austria and in Europe in general, it's one of the most experienced. They have over 12 years of consultancy experience. It's heavily research grounded. They're definitely one of the leading design and user research consultancies. And this is not something we just do as a job. It's something we really are here to help understand and help businesses make products and services better for individuals. Because for us, designing for positive experiences is important, and to know the context and the user's needs are or why we're here. Let's see, are there any other questions? I see another question coming up. Do businesses in Europe really understand the importance of mobile? Well, as you can probably hear from my voice, I'm not originally I wasn't born in Europe. I was born in the United States. And I don't know how I can answer this question. I think, in some ways, I think businesses really do understand, but maybe not enough effort is spent in conducting studies to get more insights. But we've seen, or what I've observed also, is that businesses who do invest resources into understanding actually succeed more. So, and we have lots of existing partners, and we have a lot of projects which prove that. So, yeah. Europe understands importance of mobile? Yes, of course. If there are any other questions, I think Claudia has one thing to mention. We would like to, as one of the things we would like to offer at the end of this webinar is that we have this webinar special. It's a quick mobile review. So if you have an existing product, or if you'd like to consult with us, we can analyze, our experts can analyze your mobile system according to usability and user experience relevant criteria and guidelines, and on this basis, an approved expert methods. So we can make recommendations for improvement or further development. And this is a special price for webinar attendees at 1,000 euros. And I know that Claudia has made herself available. You can contact her if you'd like to take advantage of this special. Other than that, I'd like to thank you for your attention. And if there are any other questions, you know how to contact us.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mark, for your interesting introduction in this topic. As you mentioned before, if you still have some questions we can answer, please do not hesitate to contact us. There is, on this slide, you can see our phone numbers as well as our email address. Well, it's just up to me to thank